Here's Brody Brazil.
You know, throughout this entire process of potential A's relocation to Las Vegas, those temporary years always come up in conversation. Like, what will this franchise do for 2025, 2026, and 2027 if they don't have a permanent solution of a temporary home? If they're not in Oakland and they're not ready for Las Vegas, where in fact will they play? Well, multiple commenters on multiple occasions have brought up the idea of barnstorming, which I never really put much thought or effort into thinking about until now. I've done a little research, I've done a little contemplation, and I'm going to make this video quite simply on why a Major League Baseball team in the year 2025 is absolutely not going to bounce around to multiple different cities and stadiums and call them home for 3 full seasons. It's just not going to happen. But the first thing we need to do is actually define barnstorming. It's a word that so many use, but do you actually know 3 proper definitions of it? I mean, even I've been using the word, and I kind of didn't realize all 3 of these were part of the definition. Like, here's one of them: to tour rural districts giving theatrical performances, originally often in barns. Barnstorming, right? What decade, what era was that from? The early 1900s? Was this all done in candlelight situations? But okay, that makes sense. Barnstorming, doing these theatrical performances on farms in barns because it was opportunistic. All right, that's one definition. Here's another one: to make a rapid tour of an area as part of a political campaign. And that one seems a little more modern, right? You want to do a quick whirlwind tour of a specific region. You want to shake hands, kiss babies, get your message out there. Okay, that to me is applicable barnstorming in modern times. Here's the third definition: to travel around giving exhibitions of flying and performing aeronautical stunts. I mean, they do have air shows these days, and the Blue Angels do that all the time. I just don't know if they call it barnstorming anymore. But we're going to use the definition here of a Major League Baseball team that doesn't have a permanent temporary home, and they travel the country and play home games in stadiums that are not their home. Wait, am I talking directly about the Savannah Bananas? That's the perfect baseball example of barnstorming. Now, technically, they are the Savannah Bananas, and they do play a bunch in Savannah, but they're constantly on tour. And they're constantly playing home games, home exhibitions, in stadiums that are definitely not their home. Okay, but they're not really in a league, in actual competition. They're all entertainment. I love them, by the way. But yeah, they kind of barnstorm. They are a good example of barnstorming. Here's 5 reasons why barnstorming just is not going to happen. Number 1, the Major League Baseball Players Association, and I did not do this in order, but they kind of are number 1. They will never allow this in modern times for the players that they represent, for the players with families and children, or the players that have a desire to just live in one city for a full season. You think about school and family and relatives and friends, even splitting seasons. Like a couple years ago, there was the idea that the Tampa Rays would play half their games in Florida and the other half up in Montreal. So what does that mean? Like, you need to set up 2 different schools for your child if you want to live with them during the baseball season? It's just so unfair to ask players to even split a season, let alone bounce around from stadium to stadium and basically be on the road for, 162 games in 180-something days? That just does not seem like it's supposed to come with the territory. You understand it's a lot of baseball, the schedule is chaotic, and it's hectic enough for the conventional teams that have one home and call one stadium and one city home. But the Players Association, I mean, they're barely into splitting a season 50-50, let alone having multiple sites as a team's home. There's also not enough certified Major League Baseball facilities. And I'm talking about clubhouses, I'm talking about playing surfaces, obviously the fields, safety measures, the fences, the dimensions, the lighting. All of it has to be up to a certain Major League Baseball standard. And you actually think about the Field of Dreams game, right? They have to build that stadium up every single time they play any game there. And that's why they might as well play like 6 or 7 a year. I don't know why they just do 1 or 2. They ought to make that a thing. If you're really going to build it and have them come to it, build it up for like a couple weeks worth of baseball, right? Because everything has to be done to certain measures and restrictions and tolerances. Anything less than that is not up to standards. And in fact, now that Major League Baseball has taken over minor league baseball in the last couple of years, minor league baseball teams and stadiums, they're already having issues meeting the new standards of Major League Baseball. So unless the A's were to barnstorm between Anaheim and Arlington and Seattle and Denver and Minnesota, unless they were visiting all other major league stadiums that were all already approved, you're going to have a really hard time finding multiple venues, let alone a bunch of venues to play home baseball games at. Just really difficult that even the minor league stadiums right now are definitely not yet all up to major league standards. How about the thought here that we're only talking about 3 full years? And I say only, it's not 3 weeks. I should have said it the other way around. 3 weeks, right? Barnstorming for 3 weeks? Okay. It's not great. It's not optimal. You could put up with that. I mean, there are already extended road trips during a season, and there's unique stadium situations. I mean, look at this example from, was it almost 20 years ago? Was it the early, mid, or late 2000s that the Dodgers played a game, went back to the LA Coliseum to play a game? Was that against the Red Sox? Was that exhibition? I don't even remember the specifics. But I mean, things like this do happen as a one-off. Once, or for one homestand, or for one whatever. I mean, the A's actually played in Las Vegas in, I want to say, 95 for a couple weeks down at Cashman Field because, oh yeah, construction of Mount Davis was not on target, and they weren't ready to have baseball games there yet. So these things do pop up, but there's a huge difference between 3 weeks, 3 months, and 3 full seasons. 3 full seasons is a lot more permanent than it actually is temporary. The 2025 schedule, I don't know if this is number 4. I think that's might be where we're at here. The 2025 schedule is already being drafted. Now, I know you and I won't see it publicly until about July. That's usually when the next season's schedule comes out. But I guarantee you right now, in late January, early February of 2024, the 2025 schedule is being passed around internally between clubs because this is the time of year it always is. And they come up with a first draft, which is usually pretty on target. There might be some questions, some stipulations, concerns. The teams go back and forth. Ultimately, they come up with a finalized schedule. But that internal draft is usually already circulating by now. And Major League Baseball most definitely needs this missing puzzle piece very soon. And I'm talking about for the A's, right? Is it Oakland? Is it Sacramento? Is it Salt Lake City? Is it Summerlin as part of Las Vegas? Who knows what the exact answer is yet. But if you're telling me that the answer is going to be Tucson and Reno and 10 other, smaller cities as part of Barnstorming, no chance. Even one big puzzle piece that they're missing right now is already difficult enough. And this is not 5 years away. This is like literally the next season we're talking about. So the 2025 schedule, it already beckons. Okay, that was number 4. And this is reason number 5 why the A's are definitely not barnstorming. Because of the associated costs of doing this, it's a lot to keep moving your baseball team around. Like, travel is expensive enough when you're playing the road games. Now imagine doubling the road games to be all your home games too. You would almost need, kind of like the President of the United States has, right? When the President flies into a new city, there's already the advanced aircraft that flies in with all the Secret Service cars. This is well before the President even gets there. Like, you need a crew ahead of where your team is at, essentially. And a baseball team would kind of need the same thing. You'd need somebody setting up in the next city, selling tickets, marketing and merchandising and all that stuff. You would need an advanced crew out there for logistical and business purposes alone. This is extraordinary. Like, literally, this is absurd. You'd need team employees and team staff members on a constant long road trip all season long. And so that's reason number 5. Look, I could probably give you a couple more, but I think we've already reached this point. I get it. The comments out there, I mean, you can leave a comment down below. Tell me more about your thoughts. But barnstorming, there's just no way it can happen for any team here in 2025. If that ever was a thing in the 1890s and 1930s, okay, that's fine. That was back then. But in this modern age, the way sports are, there's just no chance. You've made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.